here. So what I like to do is, you see this pillar next to it? This pillar is kind of like the max height, I would think. So what I like to do is kind of line it up with a door. Any doors, anything like scalable to real life. So it's a little bit big, but I kind of planned for that because I wanted higher ceilings on this one. Uh, so yeah, you can see the character's about mid-level with the door. So let's see. Now we go into textures. So that's going to be in materials. And typically you're going to want to find a smaller file. Or you could just make a new material by doing create, material, new mat, and then you can go over here and change up the color of it. You can see in the top left here that it's changing as I go. And if I put it on something like that, then I go back in here, it actually changes in real time. So you can really compare it and, get the shapes right. Uh, talk about glass real quick because typically buildings need glass. So to make a glass texture, it's actually super easy. Just material. Then you're gonna want to change, oh, wrong one. Where it says rendering mode, change it to transparent. Then you're gonna want to go to the A over here. And I typically, if you make it a 0, it'll just look like there's nothing there. And you can kind of see windows, especially if they're like a tiny bit dirty. So I usually keep it like below 30-ish. And yeah, that's about the same one. But yeah, you can put this on anything and now it makes it transparent. Right. So let's see. I'm gonna delete that for now. Alright, and free textures. So this website is called Pixels, I guess. This is what I've just been using randomly. Like something like this would be a pretty decent one. Just flooring. And then you can see related items if you want like a kind of a different vibe. So this one's more of a seamless texture. And basically that's just where there's not a bunch of gaps everywhere and it will look good repeating. So we'll go with that. And it's a small file. It's in kilobytes. This one was in megabytes, so it's a lot bigger. So all we are gonna do with that is just import new asset. Go to my downloads. Boom. And there it is. So now that we have this, we can drop it onto an item. Canva. Yeah. But when you do that, it makes a new material in here. And if you want to change up the color of it, you can still do that and make it a little bit darker. Make it a little bit more red, like maybe some cherry wood. There's a lot of little stuff you can do just with the colors. So here I'm gonna undo a few things. Control Z. Alright, so now it's where do I get my furniture and stuff like that. I am using this furniture pack. So this one is separated into sections. So let's see. Need some chairs, some sofas. That's what I meant. Alright, so let's get a sofa somewhere in here. You gotta think about space on this. So I'm thinking this is going to be the living room. This is gonna be a bathroom, and then have a bed underneath the stairs. Because this is a mini apartment. So we kind of gotta do some space fudging stuff. And it's going to be higher up on a skyscraper, so we don't have to really worry about the windows. So, let's see. We'll drag our sofa into the scene. You can see it's very big. So, where's my scale reference? Alright, so you can see this is the height you should be aiming for. So, let's try to scale that down. To scale stuff correctly, if you do it like this, it gets uneven. You're going to want to use the white one. You see how they keep on getting closer? If you just continue it, it ends up flipping itself. So what you want to do, if you still need to go down, just let go and keep going. See how it goes back every time? Alright, just gonna put that generally in the middle, then scale it down till it looks right. A lot of this is just kind of guessing. It's about right. Yeah. Alright. So now we can take this and just put it into our world. Or into our living room up here. I'm thinking we're gonna have a screen here, balcony out here, bedroom, and then possibly a micro kitchen over here. So, let's see. And we're gonna rotate. For easy rotations, you're gonna want to hold control, and that will show this grid. Alright? If you don't hold it, it won't be there. So, I'm gonna do a 45-degree turn. That puts me at 0. You could also go 90, negative 90, 180, negative 180. Like, you could do it that way too, but I don't know. It's kind of your preference. If you're trying to get exact, I would use this. Alright, so we're gonna put that right there. And you know what? I don't think I like this couch as much, so I'm going to copy the scale of it. I'm going to drop this other couch into the world. I'm gonna just paste the scale onto this, and it should match up pretty similar because it's the same person who made the models. Yep. See, this couch is a little bit smaller and takes up less room. Alright, little close there. Let's leave room for maybe a table or something there. Alright, TV there. Bathroom is semi set up. Let's put a sink in here. Scale it down so it looks about right with our other stuff. Or you could copy the scale of the other toilet here or something like that. Alright. And if you want them at the same elevation, all you have to do is the Y position, Control C, go over to this model, Control V, but some models are different. So I just like to line it up until you can't see it interfering with the floor. So now I'm gonna flip it 180. Then, yeah, it's a good spot. See how it's phasing into the wall? I'm I'm gonna just move it into where it's not. So put it into the wall and slowly bring it out until that pixel disappears. There you go. That's pretty much bathroom. We need a shower, but there's not enough room for it, and I don't think people are gonna notice. I might just put a shower head in and just like claim it's a Japanese shower, one of those things. I don't know. All right, so let's go to bedroom. Beds. Get this one in here. Go back to our scale reference. Do the same thing. All right. Make sure this fits right. -90. Ooh, that's big. Yeah, it's all right being a little bit small. There we go. All right, and then we could probably put a bedside table. Yeah, let's put one here. We'll just scale that to the bed instead of the player. All right, so in situations like this, I'm gonna just pull out this tool, get it set at -90. Oh, oops, accidentally rotated it on the red axis. All right, so put it into the floor. Same process as before, you know. Hey, that rhymed. Boom. So I was already planning on adding more apartments to this because I wanted it to be a hallway of an apartment complex where you can go into different rooms and they have different themes. So I have this really low on my triangle count, which is the poly count, which what low poly stands for. It's been like a month probably. I started a month ago with like no experience. Um, so basically to see your triangle count, you gotta have a camera in the scene, and the camera needs to be pointing at the model. And see this border here, all this, that's what the camera is gonna be showing. So get everything into it, and then you're gonna want to click stats, and it will tell you the triangle count and the vertices, which are kind of the same, but yeah. So limit on that's 120,000. So we are chilling because it's only at 15,000. So I should be able to copy this like a pretty good amount of times. Like I could just copy all of that at once. But all right, let's assume that this is just going to be how we have it right now because I want to move on to the more complicated stuff. All right, so these are going to be our seats. Let me drag this out so I can actually read. Oh God, 1 minute. Why are they all open? That's annoying. Okay, so we don't actually need all of these seats. All I'm going to do is select one of them and drag it over to my scene. This is going to be our starting point. So this is where you would spawn in. So we're going to have to find a cool spot for that. For now, since this is going to be our first one, I'm going to put it out here because there should be a hallway eventually. We'll get to that later. Alright, and then over here, these are the floor ones. So these are the seat traditional. This is where you teleport and end up on the floor and see the box and stuff. So this is where we're gonna start, right at the doorway. Alright, so I have my flooring set to 0.1, but that's off with this model. So you gotta drag it yourself. Just get it right about there to where you can see all of the green. Then line it up with something in your scene. I'm going to line it up with the door as an entry. I'll add a tiny bit of a gap on both ends. So now, make sure you have this selected, and actually we're going to rotate that one first. This screen right here that says big screen, which is backwards. Does that usually happen? Have I never noticed that? Huh, I guess not. That's weird. Okay, so now we're going to press Control C, Control V. It's going to place a new one. I'm going to keep on holding Control when I move this. See how it locks into position? So I'm going to get it to this one and then just move it over. And then select it again, Control C, Control V, boom. Again. You can do this as many times as you want. The limit is about 800, so if you can fit that into this apartment, I applaud you. So now I kind of don't like the spacing on them. So let's see what we can do about that. We have this one, and this one. When you hold Control, you can select multiple. I'm pretty sure it's this one. Alright, so now we can move all of them at once and get them more centered to the environment. That's about good. I like that. Maybe a little bit more. We might be able to put another one there, peeking into the door. So let's see. Select this one, Control C, Control V. Yeah, okay. I like the spacing a little bit better on that. Okay, so now we have a row. So let's see. Do we have that whole row selected? Looks like it. Oh, we're missing one. Alright, I'll do this one. It's kind of hard remembering which one's which because they're all the same file name. Alright, so we got those selected. We're just gonna Control C, Control V, and move that whole section over. And if you have a more open environment, it's a lot faster. I think this one we're gonna have to maybe place them individually and delete a few of them, like this one. Delete. And that one. But then Do the same thing again. Control, select both of them. Boom, boom, boom. You can kind of even it out a little bit more. And that's basically the first floor done on seating, except the bed. So to do that, we're going to select this one, our seat, Control C, Control V. We're going to move that into here. Just position it correctly. It's about right. Maybe a little bit lower. Alright, and then Control C, Control V. Keep holding Control. Move it over. Even it out if you want to. Maybe this one needs to go a little bit farther too. Yeah, that's more even. There you go. So we got two of those. And we can select both of them. And Control C, Control V. Move them up here. Alright, I'm going to do these ones individually to even them out on the couch. Then rotate full 180. Center it a little bit more. That bubble's helpful. Yeah, I just like to center and get the bubble to where most of it is able to show. It's okay to peek it down a little bit if you want like lower seating, but I do think that's a good thing to do. Alright, and then let's get this one. Rotate. And let's go back to this one. Copy the Y position so it doesn't look weird. And we go back here. There we go. Now you can either line the screens up with each other, and that should be pretty even, but those screens don't actually show up in game, so you don't really have to worry about it too much. So just line it up with the couch. And boom. So now we got those two, and let's put one more seat on the toilet just for fun. So I'm going to use this green outline to kind of judge where I want it to sit. So a little bit far back. Should be okay. Alright, and then again, go on the green one, rotate 180. Alright, oops, what is that? Ah, that's the screen, never mind. Okay, so now we should probably move the base screen over. So this is your main screen. So I know I'm gonna have it facing on that wall, so let me flip it. And then I'm going to move it into my scene over here. And when I'm doing the other stuff, the seats just like annoy me. So I just turn them off. You can do that by going up here and pressing that. This just is whether it's being viewed or not. So anyway, let's go back to the screen. phase it right through the wall, put it there, and you can see right now it's 4 by 2. So I want to change that to 2 by 0, or not 0, did I do that backwards? 4 by 2 is that. So let's try 3 by 1, 3 by 2. 3 by 2 isn't bad. Alright, so that seems pretty lined up there. Happens to fit, I think. Maybe we can move the roof up a tiny. Yeah, there we go. Alright, that's not too bad. I like that. I am going to move it a tiny bit over because my OCD. Oh, I didn't realize he wasn't there. Alright, well, I'm gonna just keep on making the video, I guess. Alright, so we got first screen in. Let's see. Screen placeholder, and then we have our mirrored screen. So for this one, I think I'm gonna just put maybe on this wall. Maybe I could just leave it with one screen and just call it a day with that. We don't really need a second one in this environment. Alright, so we have our seats, we have our screens. Now we need to add our lights. Otherwise, the scene's gonna just look like this and be dark and lame. Let's see. So these are screen lights, and this this will uh, reflect light from the screen into the scene when you do the light bake. Whoops. So let's see. We're gonna flip it 180. Make sure it's fused with it, and then go 1 pixel past it. Then we're gonna have to scale this to the screen because this has a different scale. So we're gonna have to do this one just by eyeballing it. Let's see, bring it a little bit over here. Good over here. No. Alright, let's bring it a pixel out. Another. Alright, we got that covered. Now, let's do the Y. Where are those seats? Turn those back off. Alright, that's not too terrible. Bring it over a tiny bit. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so we got that. Let's add some type of table somewhere. Drawers, miscellaneous. Let's see. For a little bit of detail. We could add some plants, add some speakers on the wall here, something like that. Let's see. Let's get a shelf. Just get a shelf in here. What are we looking at on this one? How would that go? Alright, scale that down. Alright, so we can put some other stuff on there later. Let's add a wall shelf above the couch here. Or, you know what? Yeah, no, above the couch. Or downstairs. Yeah, let's stick with downstairs. It needs more detail. Plus, we already got a light up here. Need some type of lighting down here. So I'm going to put this, let's see, on this wall. It's not bad. Okay. Now, let's see. Now we can go into miscellaneous, start dropping some books, stuff like that. Add some books here. And just gonna rotate them like that with the covers, or with the spines of the books facing out. That's good. Alright, let's see. Do I have a light? There we go. So we could either do wall lights around here or do lamps. I'm gonna stick with lamps, and this is supposed to be a ceiling light, but it looks like a lamp to me, so scale that down, and then we're just gonna flip it on the red axis till it is flat. You know what? I'm gonna put this one on the bedside table instead of the shelf. Makes a little bit more sense. Alright, now let's add a directional or point light. I'm gonna go with point. Bring this in here. Try to get it actually inside of it. Alright. one thing I did forget to mention is we're going to have to make everything static. Um, or else our light bake is just not going to work. But I'll get that to that later. We're coming up on that. All right. So now we have a lamp. We have our screen, and it's sort of well lit. Not the best, but we're gonna go with it. So now, let's see. I should have all the seats I need in there. We just This is the monitor occlusion detector. Basically, this is just going to be how big your map is. So we'll just scale this roughly to the outside of it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then we'll get into box colliders here in a minute because we're going to have to deal with that. Alright, so that's good. Now, set up cameras. We're going to move those to the side for now. Colliders. Also going to move those to the side. And then mirrored screen, we don't need that anymore. So get rid of that. Get rid of this one. And we're just going to select all that. Delete. Alright, so now we cleaned up our scene. We still have our seats over here. Excuse me. We can delete that folder now because it doesn't have anything in it. Lighting has one in it. And here we go. Alright, so colliders, you could go through here and place them all by hand and scale them to what you need it to be by clicking Edit Collider. And it's a pretty simple system. You just scale it and it makes a box to where you can't pass through it. But instead of doing that, much easier way, especially if you're following this guide, is going to be to click onto the model itself, and you're going to want to add a component, put a box collider. You can see sometimes it doesn't work, but I will show you in the edit it actually working. So sometimes it's not going to work for your scene though, and you're still going to have to do it manually and scale this, do all the fun stuff. Let's see. Did I? Yeah, no, it's the right one. Weird. But if I add it to this door, yeah, that one worked. So that's how it's supposed to work. A lot of the time you're going to have to mess with it. But yeah, we'll just go through here, add component, box collider, boom. And then for a couch, people are going to be sitting here, so I'm actually going to move that down. So that way it's not weird. We have a box collider on the floor. Uh, this one also should have one, yes. These are because I placed them in earlier. Yeah, box collider. We can add one to this. Edit collider, move it down a little bit so people can interact with the sink. Then same thing with this. People are gonna sit on here. So let's get it about there. So an easier way than switching back and forth, because you're gonna have to do this to every item in the game. or sorry, in your map, or else it's just not really gonna work. Um, Basically, people will just be able to phase through anything. So the easier way is to drag this inspector over here, over here, and that way, when you go into it, you can just add a component like that. So that way you don't less mouse travel time, basically. All right. So let's assume that we finished all of our colliders, and now we have box collision on everything. You'd be able to select it and see those collisions. You can see it on these ones. So that's cool. We got that. And if you press play and go to stats again, you can notice our triangle count went up about like 50%. And that is because of the lights that we added. Oop. So now that we have all that, let's see. This is where I like to start organizing stuff. So we're gonna make an empty one and call this furniture. And I'm gonna move this up to where all my prefabs are, up here. Right, move that to the top. Ceiling light, boom. Books, boom. Oh, boom. Alright, to do this fast, hold control and just start selecting them. Now you can move all of them into furniture like that. Close that. Boom, boom. Alright, I think that is actually all the furniture I used in this one, which I usually go with more, but this is for tutorial sake. So now we have all the furniture saved into its own folder, which is nice because that means we can edit it, mess with it all we want, all at once. See, it's separate from it now. So now I'm going to drag my furniture into apartment 809 because that's what this building is going to be called. Alright, so now we're going to make another folder, create empty, call this walls. And for this process, you're just gonna go through here and start clicking through your walls. This one might take a little bit, but trust me, doing this is going to be so much easier than selecting them individually and pressing static. So just do all these and organize your stuff well. You shouldn't have any problems. Let's see. Almost done with the walls. Seems like all of them. So now I'm going to move that into this folder. So now all of our walls are in one spot, all of our furniture is in one spot, and I'm gonna put the floors and roof and stuff like that into the walls too, just because they're kind of grouped together anyways. Can't be one without the other. Alright, and this is our ground, so that goes with it. So let's see. Got all of our walls. Cool. And these are all part of the door. Yeah, let me just make one called door. You know what? No, we'll just put that all in the walls. We'll call this, we'll rename it to building. Alright, select all of these. So this is just going to be your base model stuff. Stuff that you imported when you built it. And add the stairs, door, where are the railings? There they are. Oh, damn it. Alright, move all that into building. Let's see, what do we got left? Windows. Yep. And we could just add those into buildings too, I guess. Alright, so now we have them separated. Go into building, turn them all to static, and yes, change children. Now, all of these should be set to static, which is good because that way the light bake will actually apply to it. So let's see. We only have one light in here that's separate from the screen light, so I'm not going to make a folder for it, but we are going to turn it off for now. And let's see. We can get rid of the scale reference figure now. This is what we have left in the scene room. We have the seats that are actually in the house. So let me start closing these. And depending on when they'll spawn is where people will spawn first is the hierarchy here. So you are going to want to go in order for how you want it. Anyway, so now we have all of our seats. We got this. Got the cameras, which I'll talk about here in a minute. They're not necessary. Colliders, we're not going to be using because we're doing the box colliders. Screen placeholder and lighting. Alright, so now we have all of our stuff done. We're going to go to Window, Rendering, Lighting. Let me bring this over. So, let's see. Let's go to the right tab. This is going to be the screen lit variant. And for this one, click New Lighting Settings. I call it Screen. And it's going to be Shadow Mask, Non-Directional. And we're going to generate the lighting with this point light turned off. This has to be turned off. They are separate ones. Uh, so we are going to generate that. And it might take a second, depending on your computer. Alright, it's just now finishing up. So, I'm not sure if they updated the wiki to include this yet. So what you're going to want to do is actually open this in Explorer, and that will just open the files. So you're going to want to go into here. You're actually going to want to copy it to another folder. We're just going to call it screen. Alright, so we'll put those in screen because when we go to do the other light bake, it's actually going to get rid of them and overwrite the original light bake. So let's see, folder, apartments, and then they want us to put our underscore, and then your in-game username. So this is going to be your regular light bake. So we're going to flip this on, turn this one off, and now this is going to be our new lighting. So do the same thing again, rendering, lighting. We're going to make a new setting, call this one lights. Alright, and for this one, you go baked indirect, non-directional. Now we go back into scenes, do the same process again, show and explorer, move it over to the side, make a new one. We're going to call this one lights, and just drag and drop. Alright, now we have both of those done, so that's cool. We're going to go back into light bakes. This is going to be our lights, which, oops, need to fix this. Alright, where did I put that? Desktop, lights. Now we drag and drop. Cool. You can see the lighting kind of changed there when I did that. Then do the same thing for screens, screenlit variants. And you're actually going to need to make a folder called your world name underscore and your username for every one of these, including this one. But I'm just going to drag and drop it in here for now and do the file organization later. So now we have both of our light bakes done. We are going to press run, see how it goes. We're at 30,000 triangles, 49 vert, 49,000 verts, and I want to see it a little bit more up close. So I'm going to hold Shift and press the space bar while clicked in on the scene. That'll put me in full screen mode. Then when you press play, you're not stuck to the camera. You're actually able to move around. So this is how it would look like. For example, this room would be dark because I forgot to put a light in there. So, whoops. So you probably have to redo the light bake if I was submitting this. But yeah, that's pretty much all you need to do to get it done. Um, let's see. So now to export it, you're going to want to go to your base assets folder and click export package. And then where it says template assets, uncheck that. So you can see all of your stuff should be in here organized the way we did it earlier. And I'm going to just click export. And we're going to name it apartments and just save that as a package. Alright, so now if I were to open this package by doing import package, custom package, uh, it would show this environment the way I have it set up. So we're good on that. Now let's check file size. To do that, right click, go to properties. We're only at 7.55 megabytes, which is awesome because uh, we have 70 megabytes is our limit. So anyway, I could do a lot with this. We could expand it, make a whole floor of the apartment complex, do stuff like that. Communal living area, like you can expand it good amount the way I do my process. So, all right. I've been saying I'm gonna keep my my modeling software a secret until I make a video on it. And I guess I'm making a video on this now, so here you go. So this is called Sweet Home 3D, and basically what it is just a home design software. So you can find this online. It's an open source free software with no restrictions on the models they give you, and it does about like more than 50% of the work for you. So let's see. We're gonna set this as 0, 0. See on the left side of the grid here, that bar moves with it. So place that there. You can see the real world uh, length of it. So typically, we'll just make a 20 by 30 room. You can see it lines up there. Then it also lines up here. Alright, now we press escape. Now we have a 3D model of that room. So what we can do from there is we could copy it and then right click and add a level and paste it. And now we have a two-story building. And you could do that again and then again. And you could just keep on doing that until your heart's content. And every time you copy and paste it, it actually gets copy and pasted with all of this stuff you add. So what's cool about the windows on here is they actually do the cutout of the wall for you, so you don't have to do all the hard stuff. So get it into a position you like, put it there, then select all, copy, go up a level, paste, boom. Now we have two of those. So you could design the home completely in here and export it, but you might have problems with the triangle count because the triangle count for these models, the furniture models, are not low poly, but the walls and windows and doors and stuff like that are completely usable and super easy to learn. So, and another thing, entire free 3D model page. So this is a compilation of user-made models specifically for this open source app. So all of these are open source and you're able to use them in any commercial project, anything you want. You can edit them, you don't have to give credit, anything like that. But they are higher poly models, so you gotta kind of keep an eye out. Anything that's round, stuff like that, is gonna be higher. So you could probably use like stuff like this and like counters, furniture like that. But then when you get into, yeah, like a hat stand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 balls plus a cylinder and plus all of these curving, it's gonna be a lot of triangles. So you just kind of gotta eyeball it. But this has so much stuff in it, man, and you can model it all in that app. And to import things directly to it, we can go over here, 3D models, and download them directly. So this is where they're going to be. Blend Swap, Cater Legis, uh, Sophia, trees. All these are packs, and they're all under the Creative Commons license, which basically means that anyone can use it. So now I have that, but it's not a regular file. It only opens in Sweet Home 3D. So this will essentially just import a furniture library. And to do that, you can either just do what I did and double click on it, or you could import furniture library by going to furniture, clicking that, and then you find it. So that's another one I guess I didn't import. Oh, I did. And boom. So now you have the models directly on here instead of having to go to the website. Website? Because you can just be like, I need a chair. Boom. You know, and you can look at them in 3D on this website, which is fun. But alright, so that's what I modeled our scene in. So let me save this and actually exit out and show you some of my other ones that I'm working on. To let's finish this off because it doesn't really matter on this one too much because I didn't try with it. So if you just click export to OBJ format at this step, when you drop it into your Unity scene, it's going to be like a plastic, like the UV rendering messes up unless you go into here, which let's see, there is something that everyone needs to do when they first do this. Selection and 3D editing view. This right here helps you a lot because otherwise you're stuck to doing this. You have to work on everything up in the grid, but if you turn that on, you can select them in the 3D model area. So you can see that this wall is made up of three different models. The left side, the right side, and the top. So for it not to be messed up, you just have to put any texture on it. So I usually just keep with the same ones. I put purple on the top so I can see if there's any overlapping for the second stories because it's a very obvious color. You don't have to use purple, but that shouldn't be visible. So it shouldn't matter which color it is, it should just matter if you can see it or not. So do that for all of these. So now we got all that. If you wanted to, you could use their rooms function and go into the corner here, go over here, boom, boom. And essentially what all that does is it just makes a floor and a roof. But I like doing it in Unity itself because I find it a little bit easier to get right. Because the floor and the roof a lot of the times just has the problem with the UV texturing, and I don't know why. But now we're going to export this model, and we'll just call this one box because that's all it is, you know. So to import it, import new asset, go to box, import, drag and drop, and then what you're going to want to do is scale it to the scale reference figure. And I didn't add any doors on this one, so it's going to be kind of hard to scale. That's why I like just adding basic stuff that you roughly know the size of in real life to make it look right. So that's okay. The walls could be higher, but I'm gonna leave it at that. When I go to add a texture to this, it's going to not like me. So we'll just call it red. Just make a red one. So it works with flat textures, but then let's see, when you add something like this to it, it becomes a flat texture instead of what it's supposed to be, which is that. So that's why you add the texture in Sweet Home. To that way, when you put it in Unity, it actually works. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. The other stuff is just learning how to, you know, use the software a little bit and doing your own research on finding models and stuff you like. And then eventually you could use Blender to start modeling yourself, which I don't know how to use. That's why I chose to learn Sweet Home 3D, which only a few people know about until I made this. But so yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I don't think there's much else to get into, um, other than the lighting gets a kind of specific per scene depending on what if you're trying to pull off an effect. So that might be a question for the devs on what settings you're supposed to use. But yeah,